Welcome to the site for Monday, July 14th. I'm Soledad O'Brien reporting from San Francisco. On these stories making high-tech news. The Mars Sojourner backed off the giant rock named Yogi to continue its exploration, and according to some internet groups, it will soon collide with living room furniture and Evian water bottles. Those are the hot and heavy topics news groups on the internet are contending. Some of these text-based discussion groups say the whole exercise is taking place in a NASA hangar somewhere here on Earth. Okay, for the third year in a row, Microsoft Chairman Bill Gates topped Forbes' top billionaire list. This past year, Gates' net worth doubled to $36.4 billion. That's right, $1 billion. To give you some idea of how much money that is, if you took Bill Gates' net worth of $36.4 billion, broke it down into $100 bills, and put them end to end, they would wrap around the Earth 1.4 times. $50 bills, it would circle the globe 2.8 times, and in $1 bills, it would wrap around the planet 141 times. Well, apparently, the richer you get, the more people you need. Bill Gates has just hired Adam Son, a webmaster who worked on the Clinton-Gore 94 web pages. He'll be sprucing up Bill's corporate and personal web pages and also be traveling with Gates. And a federal judge has issued an injunction ordering Hewlett-Packard to quit labeling its inkjet cartridge packages with warnings that cartridges made by others won't work with the company's printers. That order came after a lawsuit was filed by printer cartridge maker Newcoat. Hewlett-Packard had no comment. And Congress wants to force computer makers to manufacture year 2000 compliant machines. Well, more on that. Joining me now is John Gillis, online producer. First of all, what's a year 2000 compliant machine?
Well, that means any hardware or software that will recognize dates after the year 2000.
So when you get to the year 2000, the computer system won't crash and all your data lost.
That's right. Right now, a lot of the date fields only read 2 digits, and they need to read 4 digits because we're going from the 1900s to the 2000s.
All right, so big problem. Okay, so what's Congress trying to do?
Congress is proposing legislation that would make it illegal to sell the government any hardware or software that's not year 2000 compliant.
Isn't that sort of like a great idea, a little too late? The year 2000 is sort of around the corner.
Well, there's still time, but to some extent I think the government may have underestimated the problem and now is attempting to shift some of the burden for fixing it to the private sector.
When you say underestimated the problem, what do you mean? How big is the problem?
Well, the cost estimates just keep rising. Between February and May, the cost estimate to fix the government computer systems rose $500 million from $2.3 billion to $2.8 billion.
So we're now nearing $3 billion to fix the problem just for the government.
And it's going to go up.
Now, how could it rise $500 million in a 2-month period?
Well, the government agencies are still in the middle of their assessment process, and they're finding that it's going to cost more than they had originally hoped.
So who are the government agencies that are going to be in the biggest trouble?
I would say some of the defense agencies, the Department of Transportation, look like they're pushing their deadlines out to the very last minute. The deadlines are in December of 1999, and I don't know the last time a government project came in on deadline.
All right, John, thanks very much. And of course, we'll return with special coverage of that Millennium computer problem after these other headlines from the digital domain. Now our special report on the Millennium bug. The dawn of the year 2000 will be like no other because this is the digital age, and the simple rolling over of computer clocks around the world could create chaos affecting everything from your PC to your bank account. Or will it? Tonight's special correspondent Craig Miller looks at the question, just how bad is it? The problem, estimates range from $200 to $600 billion, making it more costly than the Chernobyl cleanup and the U.S. savings and loan bailout combined. We'll look at where some of that money is going a little later on in our program, but first, Deb with more on the Millennium bug as our special report continues. Coffee bar with our vile little puppet man.
Our vile little puppet. This Millennium Bug Day, all day on this site. We're having such fun talking about the year 2000, 2.5 years hence.
What happens to you the year 2000?
That's a very good question, and I've asked Christine and Karsten, my handlers back there, and they checked, and the Silicon Graphics workstation that houses my persona uses 4 digits.
Crashes! Oh no!
No, it uses 4 digits, so I shouldn't crash. Although, you know, the truth is, do you really expect me to survive 2.5 more years, folks?
Not if I have anything to do with it, Jeff.
So the question may be moot. You're going to hear a lot tonight about Y2K. You know why Y2K is kind of the geek handle for the Millennium Bug?
Year 2000.
Year 2000. Because 2K, you know, in computer terms, K is kilo. So 2000. You know, it's like saying 2 G's for $2,000, 2K for 2,000 anything,
whatever.
bytes or whatever. So Y2K. So when they say that, and they're going to say it for the rest of the show, that's what that means, year 2000. Let's see, I have other names for the year 2000. I guess kind of depends on who you are. You know, the year 2000 is going to be a big deal with the millennialists. The last time this happened, 1,000 years ago, in the year 1000, man, there were end-of-the-world cults and all sorts of doomsday stuff, and people were going around hitting themselves with whips and stuff. Do you think that's going to happen this year?
I hope not.
This time? I hope not.
Maybe there'll just be some big party. Wouldn't that be fun? Okay,
maybe
I'm going to get some email.
No email today.
None?
Didn't they tell you? Didn't you get the memo?
I didn't.
We can only talk about year 2000 stuff. I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
No, you think I'm joking?
I don't. Actually, no, I don't think you're joking. Go ahead.
You missed that meeting this morning, didn't you?
I was in another one, obviously.
You got to start drinking coffee again, young lady.
I know. Did I tell you that? I gave up my coffee. I'm drinking water.
And I'm
Can you
hurt.
see that? Water.
Does it have something to do with me? Is it my doing? Is it something I did? Is it something, you know, I made you a bad
job? No, I was drinking way too much of it. But that's a whole other story. We're getting off track here.
All right.
Millennium Bug.
We started off talking about embedded processors. Those are the computers in all of our stuff, like cameras and cars and everywhere. Do you know there's embedded? Let me give you a quiz about embedded processors. Which of the following household items do not or could not rely on embedded processors, the little computers, the little chips inside your appliances? Do you think a toilet could have an embedded processor?
Yes.
You're right. In Japan, they're very popular. I don't know what they do. I think they put Tamagotchis in your toilet, but that's another. Camera? How about a camera?
Yes.
Embedded? Of course it does. In fact, that's going to have a millennium problem because, you know, the date that they put on the pictures. Portable radio. What do you think?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, of course. Refrigerator?
Yes.
Yes. How about this? This is the trick question. Sink.
A sink. They said zinc.
Zinc.
A sink. Yes.
Very good. And what made you say that?
Why do I say that? Because I'm just the smartest.
You
All right, we're out of time. Insight returns right after this.
It's true. One of our producers has a smart sink. A smart sink that actually checks the temperature and turns it up or down, make sure you can't burn yourself, and turns it off if you've used too much water.
I wonder how much extra money that costs. I mean, is that $500 more?
You know, I heard an interesting piece of gossip. I talked to a guy who thinks the IRS is going to go to a flat tax by the year 2000 because they can't fix the computers. There's no way they'll be able to. I wouldn't kid you. It's true, folks. Would I lie to you?
Yes. Our special report on the Millennium Bug continues now with the Sight of the Night. There are hundreds of websites devoted to information, trivia, and helpful hints about the year 2000 bug. The site's online producer, John Gillis, is the guy responsible for our super site on the year 2000. He joins me now to talk about that and also about one of the best of all the rest, year2000.com. Welcome, John.
Thanks, Soledad.
Who runs year2000.com?
Peter DeJager, who you saw earlier tonight, runs the year2000.com, and he sort of represents the alarmist side of the Millennium Bug community. He first sounded the alarm on the Millennium Bug, and now he is making a name for himself as sort of the year 2000 guru.
This site first impressed me in its scope. I mean, it is huge. It is really comprehensive. It's not that great looking, but it's just immense.
Well, it's not pretty, but there is a lot of content there. There's a survey. There's a list of frequently asked questions. There are archives of articles, archives of press clippings. There's a database of jobs, a database of programmer resumes. There's just a lot there.
When you say a database of programmer resumes, who is this site really targeted to then?
Well, I think the site is targeted to business professionals and programmers, but also anyone who's really interested in the Millennium Bug.
Now, I noticed that there's a spot on there about stocks.
That's
year
right.
2000 stock. What's that about?
Well, DeJager's created his own Millennium Bug stock index on the American Stock Exchange. It's called the DeJager Year 2000 Index. What he's done is identified companies that he thinks will be winners in the Millennium Bug crisis. They'll make money from it somehow. And you can invest in those companies as a sector.
And probably make a lot of money. Now, we also have a big section on the Millennium Bug on our website, thesite.com. Why don't you walk us through that?
Yes, our site is more for the computer owner, and we give a history of how the Millennium Bug came about, how it happened, some stories about how some people are dealing with the Millennium Bug. We have a page of comics and jokes, and we're trying to get some of our viewers to send the worst or the best Millennium Bug jokes to us. Is our
site interactive as well? I mean, have we done message boards and...
Well, we do have a message board, and we're also giving you a lesson on how to find out if your PC will be Y2K compliant, as they say in the business.
Or year 2000.
Year 2000 compliant, yes.
Well, do you think 2.5 years is too early to start worrying about this?
Well, actually, Soledad, there are fewer than 900 days left until
when you put it that way, it actually sounds kind of close.
It is pretty close, and there are will be previews of the millennium coming in the next couple years. For instance, September 9th, 1999 will be a millennial preview because that was a date that was used by programmers to hold a field. Yeah, so pretty soon.
John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And our special report on Apocalypse Soon, the Millennium Bug, will continue in just a moment. We'll be right back. Good job. Don't turn around. Welcome back to our special report on the Millennium Bug. I'm Soledad O'Brien. If you think the problem can't affect your computer, think again. Tonight's Site Technical Managing Editor, Leo Laporte, helps you answer the question, is your PC bug-free? Problem for the average person.
Well, there is a problem. I mean, this isn't just a mainframe computer problem. This is a PC problem. But for most users, it's going to be, at worst, a minor annoyance. And really, there's no reason to worry at this point. You've got 2.5 years.
Right, so I have a Mac. Do I need to worry even 2.5 years down the road?
The good news for Mac owners is Macs have always been 2000 compliant. Nothing to worry about. If you have an older Apple II, the original Apple IIs had no date clock, so it doesn't matter at all. 2GS, you should check with Apple. There are some issues that you should think about. The big problem is on PCs, IBM PC compatibles, Windows machines. Many of them, maybe as many as 60%, will have a problem at the date turnover. For the most part, the problem is really minor. What will happen for most people is they'll go home on New Year's Eve, or they'll turn off their computer on New Year's Eve. The next day, they'll turn it back on, and instead of being January 1st, 2000, it'll be January 4th, 1980. A little weird, okay?
Right, so how do you fix that?
You set the date correctly and go on with your business.
Solved.
For most people, that's all they'll have to do.
What if the problem is more complex than that? What if, changing the date doesn't do it?
Yeah, then you might have to have what's called a BIOS upgrade. We talked about that BIOS chip in the piece. It's just the personality chip in the computer. You should contact your vendor, find out if their hardware is year 2000 compliant, find out if they offer an upgrade. For some people with really old computers, 386s, there may be no solution except buying a new computer.
Is there a way to test to see if your computer is going to crash in 2.5 years?
Now, I should warn people, the test can be more damaging than the problem you're going to be testing for 2.5 years down the road. For instance, I set my computer's clock ahead to the year 2000 just to see what would happen, and my to-do list deleted all the to-dos because it said, oh, those are 2 years old. You've given up on those.
So people should be a little cautious if they're going to try this test. Maybe not even try it.
You can download software. We have links on the webpage to the software you can download. This is one from the National Software Testing Laboratory called year 2000. I'll run it. It's a DOS program, and the reason you have to run it in DOS is because the operating systems cover up the problem. In fact, that's the other reason people shouldn't worry too much. Windows NT, and I'm sure Windows 98 and later versions of Windows, probably chances are the one you're using by the year 2000, will take care of this problem automatically. So this has done a check. It's done a few checks. First of all, it set the time and date ahead to the year 2000, and it said, okay, it worked fine. It then checked a leap year problem, because one other potential problem is if, and this is really rare, your software doesn't recognize that 2000 is a leap year, it might not handle February 29th correctly. It passed that test. Its BIOS is okay. This machine is okay. Good news.
What would it look like if your machine wasn't okay? Would it tell you what to do?
It would give you a warning, and it would say check with your vendor. You know, that's the bottom line on all this stuff. If you have a hardware problem, you're going to have to go back to the vendor and see what upgrades or fixes they offer. In some cases, they won't. Now, there's another category of problems, which is software problems. And people are running thousands of different programs, so it's impossible to be sure that all programs are okay. In fact,
won't software probably change in 2.5 years so drastically anyway that you should just wait?
Well, many people don't ever upgrade. You have to remember that a lot of our viewers are using software that's 5, 6, 7, 10 years old. Those programs almost undoubtedly are not year 2000 compliant. Software companies didn't really start thinking about this till last year. So programs that were written before 1997, for the most part, won't work. You should upgrade to a program written from 1997 onward. You can wait 2 years. You could do it in 1999. If you upgrade then, chances are you'll be okay. The big problem is with custom-written software. That's the same kind of problem we've been seeing through this entire show. Those business users should check with the people who wrote the software and get the fix.
Okay, Leo, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
The site returns right after this. As we mentioned at the top of our program, some estimate the price tag for fixing the Millennium Bug could be as high as the hundreds of billions of dollars. Where's all that money going? The site's special correspondent, Craig Miller, looks at the bug busters, folks who are hoping to turn the problem into a profit. Winners, but what about the rest of us? We'll have that part of our story as our special report on the Millennium Bug continues. Stay with us. The Millennium Bug could sting a lot more than just your PC. As Craig Miller shows us, you probably have more computers in your home than you think. So bookmark our Millennium Bug Super site at thesite.com for the latest information. I'm Soledad O'Brien. Good night.